Welcome to Dr. Dana's diary. Yeah, right now I'm kind of busy. I am reading a couple of papers on a research topic that I'm focusing on right now. And at the same time, I'm writing a paper myself. And when I mentioned this to a friend that doesn't know me that well yet, he was like, wait, you are writing a paper? Are you becoming, an author? He only knows people that are writing books. And he thought it was something, comparable. And I was like, yes, strictly speaking, again, that's not fully true. And yet, in a similar way, it is. So what does it mean writing a paper as a scientist? The first question may be, why are you writing papers as a scientist? Or why is basically every scientist drawn to writing papers? Now, it is basically about getting your ideas, your, say, newfound results out into the world. Of course, you could just go outside the building, stand on the street and yell your new results. Yeah, but you want your scientific communities, so your peers in your research field to know about it. So it doesn't really make sense to go outside and yell your results around. You want everybody who's working in the same or in a similar field to know about your results. Maybe you have improved a theory, or you found, I don't know, a new experimental method, or you have applied this method to a certain material, for example. Then yeah, you want the world, in that sense, your peers, to know about it. And of course, you could write everybody an email about your results, but at the same time, you want not just, the people that are working in this field right now to know about it, but also people that will work on it maybe in a year, maybe in 10 years. Nobody knows if your current research may become important, say, in a couple of years. So it's important to put your results down somewhere. And the best thing is, do it in writing. So writing papers is an integral part of being a researcher. And not just because you want to put your results down. At the same time, it's also important, say, career-wise. And yes, I am not an overly huge fan with this respect. But I know it's an integral part, because when you want to get hired at a research institute, for example, or as a professor, well, people will ask before hiring you what you have achieved scientifically, and what better way to prove what you have done by, pulling a list with all of your publications, showing when you've done what, with whom, where you have published it, and how many people, for example, have been reading it. Would be nice, but there is no way of knowing. But how many people have been using your work, citing your work? And this is an integral part of the whole application as a researcher process. So it is not just about publishing your results. There are more things to it. But yeah, for me, it's mostly about publishing my results. And why is this important? Well, when I publish a paper, this is not, of course, fully 100% my work. And don't get me wrong, of course, what I write in the paper is my work or the work of myself and my cooperation partners. But, of course, in this paper, we will have other papers cited. which means that we rely on the works of people that have come before us. And in particular, in my field of research, there are some people that have worked on, for example, my simulation method already in the 1980s. So I haven't invented this method. And hence, I am citing their papers in order to, well, first of all, show respect, and second of all, it is, to show where the ideas for my work come from originally. So it is a bit of a complicated process, but the overall writing process is actually similar to writing, a bachelor thesis, a master thesis, or even a homework that students at school may already get. How does it work in particular? Well, I said it's about publishing results. So you need to have the results first, of course. And then you sit down, either if it's fully your own work, you have to do it by yourself or together with your colleagues. And you start thinking, what is going to be the message of our paper? So, for example, what figures are we going to use? What do we want to focus on? What is, the storyline of our paper? And once you've put this down, the storyline, and this is actually the most important thing, then you can start writing. You have to give an introduction. You have to present, say, your model, your theory, your experimental setup, something like this, saying what are the boundary conditions, so to speak, of your work. And then you start focusing on your results while always following your storyline. And in the end, you will get some summary. Afterwards, the references, like I said, it's unlikely that you are the first person and you do not rely on any knowledge from anybody else. So you have to cite these people, and the section where you do it, it's called the reference section. And that is basically how usually papers are made up. In order to have a full structure, you're not starting with the introduction, of course. The first thing is going to be the title. And the title is always, say, the most important thing. It has to be short, it has to be precise, and at the same time you want to, draw people in to read your manuscript. So it's a bit tricky. I think it's the most tricky part of writing a paper, how to name your child. And then in addition you have to give an abstract, which means it's something like a small summary of everything that comes afterwards, from the introduction to the summary, in a couple of rows, really not much. Usually there is even a word limit for this. So you have to be, again, very, very precise and good at formulations. So this is also sometimes a bit tricky, but it's also fun sitting down and thinking, how do I put everything into like 120 words? And this can be fun and it can be stress, but after you're done, you will be happy, believe me. And this is basically what writing then is about. You have to fill these different sections. You have to fill the introduction section, meaning, you have to find a way in order to get from where we started with the knowledge to what we are doing right now. Secondly, then the method section, just the same. You have to describe what method you are using in detail, what are the specifics in your current work. And of course, the most important thing are the results. So they should take up most of the space. And yes, it is more complicated writing a paper when you have more co-workers. So if it's not fully your own work. Of course, if it is, you have to sit down by yourself and do all of this stuff by yourself. If you have one cooperation partner, it's, talk to one another. Who's going to do what? Stuff like this. But if you have more and more cooperation partners, it can be quite tricky to say who's doing what and make it in the end fit, so it doesn't look like, a couple of random people have been putting random sections together. So it has to fit in the end, because you want people to read it. Now you may say, okay, but that sounds totally fine. Where is the catch? And of course, there is a catch. Because it's not just about writing your paper. You are writing a manuscript. This manuscript you will have to submit, or you don't have to. Of course, you can just put it somewhere online. But scientists prefer to have their manuscripts published in journals. And the more well-known and highly respected a journal is, the better. But of course, not every manuscript fits every journal. So in a journal called Computational Material Science, and yes, this one actually exists, you will expect, exactly what the name says, computational works on material science. So if you are working in medicine experimentally, this is probably not the right journal for your manuscript. So find the right manuscript, find the right publisher, and you will have to submit your manuscript. And then a whole process starts. The editor will have a look at your manuscript. Means it's usually checked if this or something extremely similar has already been published. And then it's going to be rejected if it has, because nobody needs the same thing twice. And no, you're not allowed to copy from somebody else. So this is an absolute no-no. Once they made sure that it is, or it seems to be, your original work, they will have a look if it actually fits into the scope of the journal. Like I said, computational material science, please submit something that is related to computational work in material science. After they made sure this is also okay, they're going to have a look who's also working in this field. And then they are going to send your manuscript to a couple of people that are highly respected colleagues in this field and who have not, worked on the same manuscript. And those people are going to be called reviewers, because they are doing a review on your manuscript and give their thoughts. If they think this is really valuable work, if the results seem, say, plausible, and if they do, they will recommend a publication. Then it goes back to the editor's office, and based on the reviews, the editors will either say, yeah, okay, we are going to publish your work, or they are going to say, no, we're not going to publish your work, or they're going to say, well, yeah, we might publish your work, but please make a couple of improvements. And then you get also what the editors wrote about your manuscript in order to help you make improvements. And this is actually quite a valuable step, because sometimes you're so, deep in your own research and you have been reading your manuscript 3 times, 5 times, 10 times, and sometimes you really miss this little point that could, round everything off. Well, once this is done, congratulations. Your manuscript is accepted. Now it's going to be published, and then everybody can read it. So it is more than sitting down and, writing down stuff. It is a very complex process, and it is quite important for researchers that want to stay in academia to have a number of good publications. Like I said, showing off what you are doing is one aspect, and the other aspect is, if you want to get hired at some point at some research institute or university, it is very helpful to show what you have achieved scientifically. Do you have some questions? Any questions? Let me know in the comments below and I'm sure to answer them if I can. So thanks for watching and I hope to see you soon for another video. Bye!